live when it's blue?
No, we're live when it's yellow. Hello, everybody.
It
It's Lynn, Carol, and Ellie. And we are just having a grand old time back here behind the stage here. And we're pulling back the curtain tonight because we're going to talk about money. Does money suck? I don't know. Maybe it does. So we're going to talk about that. But, you know, what we do at the beginning of our $1 Million Mission, hashtag MDM, is we, we propose a toast. So let's have Ellie do it this time.
Here we go. You know, you're watching this live, you're watching the replay. We really are here to impart value, whatever you consider $1 million value for you. And we're here to expand our horizons, $1 million abundance. So cheers to you all, cheers to us. Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers to that, for sure. And you know what, Ellie? That is so true. It's a representation of our mindset, of the journey that we're on, that we're trying to accomplish, and you know, we're going to. Mark our words, we are going to. But we wanted to talk about money because, you know what, for me anyway, I see a ton of people that have, I don't know, they have some issues with talking about money, and using that word, you know, money, and feeling, you know, abundance, that word abundance, it kind of scares people. So I remember when I was, you know, I was smaller, and my dad always said, save your money, save your money. And I'm like, why? Why am I saving my money, right? Then my dad gets older, and he goes, spend your money, you know, live it up, you know, it's just money, it's just money. So when I was growing up, I had mixed messages. And my mom was a banker. Well, before she had us, she worked in a bank as a teller. And then I got involved with, later on, after high school, going into corporate America, and then landed in, you know, the real estate lending industry, where it was all about money. Talk about money, 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 you know, and especially here in California with the big multi-million-dollar homes and, you know, anything around where I live, you got to have $500,000. You know what I mean? So money is a word that I think a lot of people, you know, they take it in different ways and different ideas and in different aspects. And it could mean a lot of things for people in a way of business, in a way of your lifestyle, also in a way to, you know, for giving back, you know, to your community, to charities, to maybe even build a foundation, whatever it might be. So I wanted to just start it off that way. And please leave your comments, you know, and your, you know, anything that we talk about, you know, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Ask questions or make your comments on what we're talking about. Because, you know, we want you to be engaged with us. We love you guys as our audience. And we would love to, you know, to hear from you as well. So I'm going to hand this off to Carol and see what she, you know, what she can bring into, you know, this money thing. Does it suck, or what are the myths out there that some people are struggling with, and how can we help them out?
Well, I could talk about this for days, but let me start off with one aspect here. I was on a hangout the other night, and Ellie and I talk about this all the time anyway in terms of law of attraction, and that is that you live what you think. In other words, your thoughts create your life, and you think what you speak. So whatever stories you're telling about yourself, about your life, about life in general, that's the stuff that's going to come back to you. So if you have a problem with money, it's not really that you have a problem with money, it's that you have a problem with your story. A person pointed that out the other night, and I thought that was so astute, because that's really where it's at. So what we have to do is take a look at our story and see what our story is about money. And I find I never really thought about money that much. You know, as long as I had enough to pay my bills and go out to dinner once in a while, I thought I was doing fine. I was happy. Buy a car every few years if you have to, if yours dies, whatever. Pay the mortgage. I was doing fine, I thought. And then I realized, I don't have to stay in that caliber of life. I could move up. And I started getting into real estate investing. And that's when I really learned how to manage money. Nobody ever spoke about that when I was a kid growing up or as a young adult. They just said, oh, you have to manage your money. Yeah, but fine, but what? How do you make it grow? And of course, Susie Orman had her TV show, and I used to watch that all the time, and I learned a few things from her. But well, about real estate, and I learned a lot from that. There was a guy named Keller who started a real estate group called the Keller Group, and he wrote a book or two in conjunction with some other people about this. And hanging on to your money and making it grow, not spending it all, allocating it for certain things, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a big eye opener for me, and I learned a lot from that. But one of the things from the law of attraction, the Hicks in particular, Abraham Hicks, they had a couple of exercises on money, and this was a real eye-opener for me. This was before the real estate part. They had an exercise where every day you would write out a check, and every day you would double it. So you start off with like $100, and then the next day it would be $200, and you would allocate that check for whatever you wanted to spend it on. Anything, didn't matter. Clothes, food, towards a new car, whatever, anything. And I was fine. I could get myself up to a certain level, and I don't recall right now what it was, but when I started getting into those six figures and beyond, into the high six figures, I couldn't do it anymore. I had to stop doing it because it was so unreal for me. And that's when I realized, wow, I'm not really ready to accept big amounts of money. And that's when I started looking at my mindset, and I started paying attention to people like Keller. And now, being in this business that we're in and being around wealthy people, I even have a hard time using the word rich. I'm not sure why, but I guess, excuse my French, they used to say, oh, she thinks she's a rich bitch or something like that, Nouveau riche, they had a bad reputation. But being around these people who are making goodly amounts of money, high 6 and 7 figures, I find out that people just like us, just like me, just like you, only they've made a lot of money, and they know how to manage it. So darn, if they can do it, we can do it. So yes, it is a mindset, and I think I could write out those Abraham Hicks checks now for larger amounts. So that said, I'm going to pass this along for now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the word rich, although you ruined my thing. But no, you didn't ruin it. It brings me right in there because that is amazing. Okay, most people really. You all got to get honest now, okay? You really got to get honest with yourself. You're not going to tell me here, although you could be honest and put it here in the comments, okay? When I say, what's your feelings about rich people, think about that. Because lots of times it brings something up. Like Carol said, rich bitch. Now I can say it because she said it. I'm usually the one that curses on here. But and what I'm aware of, okay, is it's from your past. Now look, I wasn't raised in money. I think I thought, first of all, there was a middle class, I think, when I grew up. I don't know if there is one anymore. But I think I thought we were middle class, and we were probably lower middle class. You know, when you're a kid, you don't really realize, you know. But meanwhile, 5 of us lived in a 3-room apartment. That would have been an eye-opener there. A tiny 3-room apartment. So, but I grew up with, you know, years later, not until people started to talk about this stuff to me and, you know, what's your belief on money, and started reading books and all, I became aware of, oh my God, the crazy messages. So I'll tell you a story. So I think I was 10, because we had just moved. So I was 10 or 11 years old. And there was some kind of lotto thing. It wasn't like the lotto they play now, because when I was 10, it was a few years ago. My father won, like, I think he won $500. Now, $500 was worth more then than it is now, right? Although I would be happy if I had a ticket that won $500, right? But we were then going to go into that ticket was going to be entered into $1 million drawing. Now, this is before they had $1 million jackpots. So $1 million, a lot of years ago, okay, it was worth a lot more money than $1 million today. Which still, I think if you were in a drawing for $1 million, you'd be excited even today, right? So my father was like so excited. Now, I'm telling you, I mean, I realized years later that we were living paycheck to paycheck. That is how we lived. I didn't know that. I was 10. So they're all excited, and they got to go to Monticello racetrack. Monticello is in, it's New York, isn't it, Carol, or was it Jersey? Whatever. It was New York, but not as far upstate New York where I live now. So they actually took me out of school, okay, which is unheard of. They were like, no, you're not going to school tomorrow. My mother put curlers in my hair. My hair wasn't wavy then. I actually had straight hair when I was 10. And I remember being in the car early in the morning. I still had curlers in my hair because my father swore he was winning the $1 million, all right? So I guess they wanted me to have curly hair for the picture. But I have to now back up a little and talk about my father's sisters had money. All right, whatever. And again, I don't, you know, then I didn't have a conception of how much money was and all. But, and my parents were really nice to them when we were with them, and didn't talk so nice about them when we weren't with them. All right, and I had to always be dressed this way and be this way. To me, it was a drag going, because, like, you know, I was a kid that ran around and got dirty all the time, and I wasn't supposed to. And I was supposed to be, like, lovely to these people, you know, and whatever. I don't know if I liked them or disliked them. I didn't really care, right? But I started to realize, you know, that I knew they had money. I knew that. I knew they had money. And my parents didn't talk nice about them, but were lovely to them in front of their face. So when we're in the car going for the $1 million thing, I'm praying in the car, quiet. I was smart enough to know not to tell them this. I'm praying that we don't win. Think about that. I'm praying that we don't win $1 million. And I was the kid that always wanted to live in a house, and we lived in an apartment and what have you. You would think, oh my God, wouldn't you want that? Like, you know, they could buy you a house with a pool in the country. I was the kid. I live in the country today, but I was the kid that wanted to live in the country. And I'm praying, because I remember thinking, if we win this money, people will only make believe they're our friends, and they won't really be our friends at 10 years old. So we didn't win the $1 million, okay? But my parents liked to be at the track, so I was always happy at the track. So I was happy. And I was relieved that we didn't win those $1 million. Now, I don't believe, my father died a lot of years ago, like 29 years ago now. I don't think I actually have ever told him the story. He hears me now. Sorry, Dad. But my mother, I did eventually tell the story, you know. But I mean, I kept that story quiet for years because as I was starting to get into personal development, it was personal development that really did it for me. And then people then talking about business and just more about expanding your life. I remembered that story and was like, holy crap. How can I say I want more money in my life when I have this belief that rich people ain't nice? Okay? Because that's kind of what they said about my aunts. I didn't think one way or the other about them. I had to be stuffy, so I didn't like to be around them. I don't think it was their fault, though, right? But rich people are not nice, and people won't be really your friend if you're rich. Holy crap. That was a revelation for me that was huge. Then I have a gazillion other ones, you know. A big one for me was my mother always said, you just need enough. You just need enough. And, you know, as I got older, I realized enough. We were barely on enough, you know. So, you know, if here's what I found out I started living. The hot water heater would break down. Some extra money would just come in at the same time. You paid for the hot water heater. Whoop! Out the freaking door. It went. Now, you were always grateful. Oh, thank God I got to pay and get hot water. But what the hell happened? That was, you just need enough. You don't need all that fancy stuff. You don't need fancy stuff. You just need enough to get by. And I mean, it was, I mean, look, I come from loving parents, all right? It was a loving family. So it wasn't, they were also trying to compensate because we didn't have all those fancy things. But you've got to look at that stuff to find out how you've interpreted it and how you're bringing it out into your life. Because that idea of, guess what? I've lived, you just need enough for too many years. You know, now as I'm changing it in these years, like getting it, but sometimes that's deep-seated stuff. So that's huge. Sitting down, and so I'm reading this book again. I don't know if you can see that. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. This is probably the 4th time I'm reading this book. And here's what he says. If you would say, oh, you know, what do you think about rich people? And you would be like, oh, well, you don't really need to be rich. You know what he tell you? You're broke. So he's fresh. But he's right. He's right. You know, start realizing what are these beliefs we hold about people that have a lot of money. I know I still have them because I have beliefs with the politicians and all, and the government, okay, and their power. That's a whole nother story. I'm going to be quiet now.
Oh my goodness, that would open up a whole, probably a 4-hour conversation. You know, Ellie, that's when you said, open up your mind and open up your, and Carol, mentioned to be ready, to accept money. Because that happened for me, here it is, 20-year-old, and I get promoted in a corporate position, and I'm relocated to California, and all of a sudden my income tripled. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand money at that time. And, getting around people that have money, I always thought that I couldn't get around people that had money because I thought, I had to be at their level first before I could even talk to them. And, thank God for, where I'm at today and surrounding myself with people that, I feel so comfortable talking to them. They're like my best friends. You know what I mean? So I think that it's obviously, your state of mind, your heart, your passion. What it is that you really, really want. And how rich do you want to become? Because rich, to me, equivalates to wealth, and wealth means a whole lot of things. It's not just about the money. It's about your way of life. How are you living your life? And for me, I've seen stages of life, every like 10 years that we keep marching on. And, for me and my husband now, we're happy with a more simple life. We're happy with going and traveling and doing things. It doesn't have to be so grand, but we love to treat ourselves every now and then, and we want to keep increasing that because it's just fun, right? It's just fun. But do I want a mansion? Nope. Do I want a new car? Maybe, But I remember this one gal when I was going through this training. Actually, it was a guy and gal that was like the coaching or whatever you call it. And I was going through this management training for one of these courses for real estate lending. And they made me feel like, what do you mean you don't want a mansion? What do you mean you don't want a Rolls Royce and this and that? I'm like, what? Why do I have to have that? You know what I mean? Why can't I live a life differently? I wanted a motorhome. I want to travel the United States. I want to go all over the United States and be in every single state and visit certain landmarks and national parks and all this kind of thing. And so does my husband. I mean, it's the one thing that we've always wanted to do, and we're starting to do that now. So I think it is a frame of mind and how rich you want to be, how wealthy is your life, and all that kind of thing. I think it is determined, based on your why, your purpose. What are you here for? Do you know what I mean? Why are you even doing this? Why are we building a business online? Why do we do this? And I think when you start with that, then it really does make you think about what it is that you truly, truly want out of life, rather than going the other way and saying, oh yeah, I gotta make that $1 million so I can have that mansion, But anyway, I wanted to bring that in because I think there is that myth out there about that in order to make $1 million, that you have to want to be rich. You want to be a rich person. And I think it's just you want to be a wealthy person, because along with growing into that money, you're growing as a person too. So anyway, maybe Carol can elaborate on that, or offer her own ideas about something else about money myths.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because I just read a blog, I guess it was yesterday, that someone had written exactly about that very same topic. Now, I know he's doing very well in this business because he's been on stage and has spoken and what have you, and he's relatively new to the business, and this is actually his second language, but he's doing very well. And he said, I don't really want a fancy sports car. I don't want a big mansion. So he says, what I want time to spend with my little ones and my wife. I want to be able to show them around the world, wherever we feel like going, whenever we feel like going. And he was talking about things of that nature, and not having to worry about bills anymore. Just know that there's enough there to take care of everything. So it all depends. I mean, I've also seen young. I think it's more young people. Maybe I'm wrong. Who say, "Oh man, I can't wait till I get that Lamborghini or whatever the heck it is that they want." And actually, I can identify that with that, because when I was a very young adult, late teenagers, I always had fancy cars. Actually, I did. I had nice-looking convertibles, and that was my bailiwick. I loved them. So I guess I can identify with that, but not today. Today, it's inconsequential to me. I'm more along with what this other fellow was saying about, freedom from worry about money, freedom to come and go as I please, not having to answer to other people. Having comforts, yes, being able to go out to dinner whenever I want to. Yeah, I like comforts, that kind of thing, sure. If something breaks, you just call the guy to come and fix it, whatever. That sort of thing. But, I guess it's a matter of your values, it's a matter of your why. And, it's a matter of taste, but I would tend to agree with what you're putting out there. I don't know if everybody would agree with us, but regardless, that's certainly an option. Taking a look at that book that Ellie just put up, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I just finished reading that for the second time. And he goes into some of the stuff that like the real estate people do about, how different people think, the different classes think, how the wealthy people think, how the middle class and poor people think. And I've heard speakers address that issue at real estate meetings. Excuse me. And some of the things that he came up with, I don't know, I find it very interesting. He said one of the things is that rich people think big. Poorer people think small. And I'm thinking again, growing up, I don't know that my parents ever actually said it, or whether it came from them or friends or school or whatever. But I do remember picking up that thing about, play it safe. Don't get your hopes up too high so that you don't get disappointed. So as I was going through life and as I was an adult out on my own, making my own money and what have you, I found myself, a lot of my life was up and down, up and down, up and down. And I said, well, I sure enjoy the ups, and I can't stand the freaking downs. So how can I even this out somewhat? And then I thought back to what people said. Well, don't expect too much, and you won't be disappointed. So I started thinking, well, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm expecting too much, and that just sets me up for these nice highs, but it also sets me up for these disappointments and the lows. That was the only way that I could think of addressing that issue, and I started, trying to make myself smaller like that and think a little smaller and be content with what I had and the way I was living. And I find, that's crazy. The idea is, just lift yourself up and get yourself up there and come up from the lows. Don't bring the highs down, but come up from the lows. So I don't know. Those are a couple of thoughts that went through my mind, and I got a feeling that Ellie might have something to say about that. I'll pass it over to you, Ellie.
I'm crazy. I'm just like, oh my God. I want to say rich, 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 rich. Okay? Get comfortable with rich. You know what? I'm laughing because sometimes it can still play with me. It is a huge thing that was handed to most of us, if not all of us. Huge. It still is, because people are out there complaining about the rich people. Because there's some assholes that are rich, but you know what? I know a lot of assholes that are poor. So, and there's a lot of nice people that are rich and vice versa. So getting that idea, that word rich, please, go and say it every day. Say it every day. Rich, 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 rich. I'm going to be rich. I want to be rich. Does that mean I want a Lamborghini? No, because those damn cars are too close to the ground now, and they're a pain in the ass for me to get out of. That's a damn truth, okay? I was never a sports car person. I like really nice cars, all right, but SUV cars. I like to be up high. I like big, heavy-duty cars. That's what I like. I want all the bells and whistles. I do want all that stuff, and there was a time I think I was uncomfortable with wanting that stuff. Now, here's the deal. I know a lot of us are aware of. There's a lot of people that have less than we all do. There are a lot of people in poverty. The truth is, there really is enough resources for everybody and what have you. But by me limiting me doesn't give them any more money. As a matter of fact, go be a philanthropist. Go give your money away. What? Why wouldn't you then? Okay? So that idea of if I limit myself, nobody else is going to get more. There's just more of us that have less. It doesn't make sense. He says in this book, there's exercises in this book. And the first time I read it, I didn't do them. because rich still pissed me off. This was a lot of years ago, the first time I read this book, okay? So amazing how you evolve if you stay on this journey, right? He says, if you just want to live comfortably, and that you set your goal is that, you probably will live less than comfortably. So set out to live rich, and you'll probably live very comfortable. You know, it's like Carol was saying, if something breaks. So especially years ago, all right? I didn't know nothing. I grew up in an apartment, and my father and brother both, two male figures in my life, they worked on Wall Street, okay? They didn't know nothing about fixing anything. And now I was living in a house in upstate New York. And we didn't have a lot of money. So, Ellie learned how to fix things. And that was kind of cool at first. But I became self-sufficient. There's a feeling with that, okay? So there's like this, look, I can take care of myself feeling. Then I realized, screw that. I can take care of myself, write a check, all right? Get the guy. That's what he's for. Call the guy. The thing broke. I don't need to fix it. I mean, I could tell you some stories of trying to fix boilers and having water run, or please, okay? And I actually fixed quite a few of them. They're limiting beliefs. And here's the deal. If you've got them in money, you've got them in life. So you've got them in about what you can do and what you can live. I just did a whole bunch of videos on that mindset map that we live on. There's a map that runs back there. It's filled with money myths and probably limiting beliefs about who you are, about what you really can do in life. Because when we talk about money, money is energy. That's all it is. It's energy. So it's abundance. It's abundance. So to have abundance within your life, abundance in joy, abundance in friends, abundance in enjoying life. Money is part of that energy. So, and so like you were talking about, it's a tool, and it's a tool, you can utilize it as a tool, right? So it does give you that freedom, because I never understood why people have kids and then they ain't there. It's like, why'd you have them kids? You ain't there. I used to drive a nursery school bus years ago. That was very interesting. All right, the kids would be crying, the parents would be crying. It was like, holy shit. That. And I'd be like, why'd you have these kids? And all these kids are on the bus, and all these parents, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I was up with little children at 6 o'clock in the morning. And, everybody's crying. And that those people didn't set out to have their life of, yes, and then we'll have children and we'll never see them. We'll see them on the weekends. It's crazy. Money is that tool that buys you that freedom. Now you're at points in your life, even here, that you're looking for different ways to get it. If you don't have a belief that money is good, so you better get it, okay, and that you can have it, you've got to cultivate that. You've got to cultivate that, because I don't care what business you do, it will always evade you. You'll just kind of get enough. Enough is enough, all right? Enough about having too much. Enough is not too much, whatever, okay? It's ridiculous that we limit ourselves. It's ridiculous. You go, oh, I don't really want to be a millionaire. That's a lie, all right? It's a lie. If somebody gave you $1 million, you'd go, okay. And if you didn't want to spend it all, you'd go give it away. But why wouldn't you want $1 million? I think people are also afraid you have to work your ass off to make $1 million, and you have to negotiate who you are, or sell yourself short, or be who you are not. So you know what? I guess there's ways to make money that way. You don't got to choose that. You don't got to choose that. There are, I guess, ways. Even people who are in jobs, they hate to make a lot of money. There are people that are CEOs that are making $1 million, but I don't know. Or you have to give up some of your beliefs to have. No, you have to change the perception of what money really is. Money is energy. It is not bad. It is not. Are there bad people that have money? Yes. And there's bad people who don't have money. So let's just get real with that. You have to create that new pathway. And, so this is a good book to do it. There's a lot of other good books to do it. But this is a good one to do it. Or, I always promote Psycho-Cybernetics, the new Psycho-Cybernetics, because it gives you that basis of how is this stuff really happening? When I realized some of the beliefs that I held about money and about my life, then, because I used to be so like, I believed this was going to work for me, and it didn't. And then I realized I didn't really believe it was going to work for me. I wanted to believe it was going to work for me. But I still had not changed that map in my head that this can work for me. Anything. Years ago, I'm talking about a situation when I was doing wood carving. That's a whole nother story. So if I'm not angry, I'm just very passionate about this because I know what a difference it makes in people's lives. I'll be quiet now.
Yeah, Ellie, you are very passionate about that, but it's true. It always comes back to this belief. Isn't that interesting? How believing in things. And I got to tell you, I had a mentor inside this community. She kicked my butt, 2 years ago. And if she didn't do that, I probably wouldn't even be here. So there is this change that you have to make, like Ellie pointed out. This pathway that you do have to create to be open to learning and taking in more information so you understand the progression that you're taking in your life. And hello, we all need money. You know what I mean? We all need money. So what I kind of want to, I don't know, hopefully this won't, this will be okay. I kind of change it up a little bit because since we're talking about money, another myth out there that for me I struggled with for a long time is asking for money. Because we're in the business to sell. We have to. If you're in business for yourself, right? You have to ask for the sale. Okay, you have to ask people for their money. You're asking people to separate their money from their wallet to your bank account, right? And for the longest time, I had this mental block. Now, I could do it just fine when I was working for corporate, in the corporate world, because I don't know why. But I had this mental block when it was me, my business, and I was asking you to buy this product because it is going to bring you so much value. Pull out your credit card, buy, right? I couldn't do that. And I remember my first year inside of Empower Network and listening to Dave Wood and listening to the trainings and listening to other leaders and mentors and even, just team members, right? My fellow team members and colleagues and business partners and things like that. I was just like, how do you ask? How do you tell people? How do you talk to people? How do you say it? You know what I mean? But it's true. We have that other aspect of it where to ask for money, ask for the sale. It's pretty darn interesting, but I got to tell you, it was a struggle that I finally worked through. And I'm still working through it because I think Carol or Ellie mentioned how this is deep-seated. Some of this stuff is deep-seated. You were raised a certain way, and you only heard certain things from the people that you were around, which were your parents and your relatives and, co-workers and things like that, right? So that's the way things get seeded into your brain, and now we've got to finally wake up and say, okay, this is my life. How do I want to live it, right? We have that freedom. And the internet has brought that to us, folks. I mean, literally, I love the internet because we can build a business from home, right? So I wanted to put that out there. I'm not sure, Carol and Ellie, I kind of threw this as kind of like a curveball, but really the other side of it, the other side of it is asking for the sale. right? I think a lot of us have trouble with that in this kind of industry, especially when we're behind a box, a computer, or we're doing an email, or we're doing a video, or whatever it is. So anyway, I wanted to push that out there and see if we want to talk about that, or maybe a different different side of money myths.
Sure, I'll pick that one up a little bit here, and I have a couple other things to say too. But I think, bottom line, I think that comes down to self-worth, because if you're selling a product for a bank or something, it's their product, and if the bank puts it out, it must be a good product, blah blah blah. But this is us we're selling, and do we feel worthy enough to ask people to buy into us, into our beliefs, into our program? And I'm going to pick up on a comment that I just saw in the chat that Justine said, which I think relates to this. And she was saying that when we learn these messages from childhood, from our parents, our teachers, authority figures, whoever they are, that we pick them up from a child's point of view. And we're looking at the world from a child's point of view. And I never quite thought of this before. I never quite put this together. That if we still carry over those beliefs, then we're still looking from a child's point of view, from a lack of power place. And I think that might also play into that. I could certainly identify with what you're saying, Lynn, that it's hard to overcome that, to ask for the sale. Absolutely. But yeah, interesting, very interesting thing to talk about. Also, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, one of those things, going back to the book again, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, the way that rich people think is that they act in spite of fear, and the middle class and poorer people let fear stop them. So I think this relates to risk tolerance. Wealthy people, rich people, have a greater tolerance for risk, and not that they're careless and will just jump at anything. They do their due diligence and their research and what have you. But yes, there might be an element of risk, but if they think that there's a good shot, they'll go for it. Whereas, I mean, how many people we talk to all the time, and we hear mentors speak to them about, if you're just going to dip your toe in this and try it for 2 weeks and see how it works, you're setting yourself up. It ain't going to work. So there's like next to no risk tolerance there, and that's not going to get you anywhere. And one other thing I just wanted to bring out in terms of the flip side of this, attracting money. I remember hearing one of the actually he's a multimillionaire who was in our company. He said he used to he was not at all wealthy to start off with. There was a point when he couldn't even put bread on his table for his kids and his wife and himself. But he had this vision, he had this goal, he had this belief. And what he used to do every evening, he would get in his car and he would drive around in the neighborhoods of the very rich people, and he would just look at their houses, watch them coming and going in and out of their houses, and feel what it was like to be there, and pick up that vibration, try and get himself up to that level, as we talked about, bringing ourselves up rather than down. And I mean, surely he made it. He did it. And I remember also reading another woman who teaches in this vein. She's a personal development coach, and she said that she lived out in your neck of the woods there in California on the coast, and she and her partner wanted a boat, a nice boat, and they hadn't been able to afford it as yet. So they used to go out whenever they had a chance on weekends and evenings or whatever, and they'd go out to places that sold boats and look at them, and they theoretically pick out the one that they liked, and they'd page through magazines of boats and say, oh, I like this one, isn't that nice? Oh, that's the one I want. And sure enough, they were able to get themselves a boat. They didn't get the one that they wanted to start off with, as big as they wanted, but they started off with one, and they were able to trade up as time went on. So, the attracting things, put ourselves in that environment, in that aura, and try and elevate ourselves to that vibration, so that we are in a position where we can attract that stuff to us. And that said, I will pass it along to Ellie.
Yeah. So I know who you're talking about when you're talking about, the guy riding around in the neighborhoods, and he couldn't put bread on the table at one point. And he's a multimillionaire and a really nice person. And I just need to really point this out. Does he have all these smart ways of doing business on the internet today? Yes, okay. But if you talk to him, and his real beginnings was all about personal development, and that's what he teaches. So I'm always smiling at when people are shirking all of that, and it's like, no, just tell me what to do, what buttons to push, And it's like, you know what? Anybody can push the buttons. Anybody can learn how to do some of the stuff we do can get a little more technical, but anybody can learn it. All right? If you are running on limiting beliefs, I promise you it's not going to work for you. One of the reasons why people don't like the word rich is because they equate it with greed. As a matter of fact, Justine actually even wrote that. What you wrote, Justine, was amazing. I get what you're talking about. And that's a huge one. And that, again, I promise you, it's the neighborhood you grew up in. Because if you grew up in a really rich neighborhood with really rich people, you didn't believe that rich people are greedy. You just wasn't raised that way. All right? And then, people still to this day talk like that. And there's jealousy involved. I get that. And there, I wasn't born on the right side of the tracks, but so many people that really are in those seven figures, the ones we know especially, they're self-made. They weren't born in it. They weren't born in it. As a matter of fact, like Carol's talking about, this guy, he was English is his second language, still is, okay, and he didn't know what he was going to do, and he really didn't have enough money one day, and his mother came over. It was like their anniversary or something. Didn't know what to buy them, and gave them $50. It was one of the kids' birthdays, I think, and gave them $50 and said, no, so whatever. You're going to get the baby. And they're like, yeah, we're getting the baby bread. They didn't tell the mother that, okay? They ran out and got food, And I've been in situations like that years ago. I've opened the refrigerator, and nothing was in there but a box of mixed vegetables. And Carol knows I don't like mixed vegetables, okay? So I was in trouble. Oh, shit. So, and you know what? Things worked out. So it's personal development. It's understanding these things. It's understanding how you work and understanding what drives you. And so it is understanding what's your why, what's your purpose, And I love when, Lynn says, that's a self-worth issue of not being able to ask people for money. And I'm not like, because I get it, okay? I've been there, done that. Can still right now, if you want to give me money, I'll give you my PayPal address. I have no problem with that. If you're not in the business and you want to click the button, go ahead and do that. I have no problem with that. But I was a wood carver and had a hard time selling my stuff even, all right? So, again, that was when it was starting to hit me, all right? And I've been on this journey and I then believe it's a journey, all right? Because I think you're always expanding and you're always learning, and so the journey always becomes more adventurous. If you know you've got issues, if you think you don't, you better sit down and write it out and find out if you do, because I don't know anybody who don't. The people that don't got issues, got a lot of money already. They're rich, 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 rich. I'm being honest here. So am I admitting to still having issues? Yeah. Still on the journey, you know, because I'm not rich, 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 rich. Now, I'm not poor, but I'm not rich, 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 rich. So, and I'll be rich. I'll be it. You know, I'm probably not buying Lamborghinis either. I'm going to buy big, fat SUVs. No, people will call me a polluter then. I'll do something, all right? So, understanding that being in a community like this, all right, where that's why I'm here. I came into this business because I work with people on personal development, helping them change their lives. Want to know what 99% of their problems were? They didn't have enough freaking money. Why? Because we have all kinds of limiting beliefs. That's why, okay? And they didn't like their job. I don't have enough money. I don't like my job. Okay, coming into this business, I can work with you at personal development and be in a business that you can, now there's a way to make money, all right, right here online, and be within this community that supports and uplifts you. They might be looking at me thinking, that woman is crazy. Veins are probably popping out. Sometimes they pop out in my head when I go on like that. They might be afraid. Don't be afraid, okay? So whether you're here live or you're on Hangout or you're on the replay, if you have not yet joined us, click the button below. We'll get back to the person who invited you here. All right, I'm going to be quiet now, I swear.
Well, I think this is probably a great time to start, you know, wrapping things up, because I think we've shared a lot of nuggets, and you know what, I appreciate all the comments, you know, that have been made tonight, because that helps us out to, you know, to keep this conversation going that benefits you. You know, we want to give the value back, like Ellie and Carol say, to you. You know what I mean? That's our mission. That's the purpose of these Hangouts each and every week. And I do want to say that we have a secret guest next week that is going to be with us. So, you know, you want to get prepared for that, and you can share this Hangout. You can share this Hangout with your list, with your folks, you know, your email list. The link up above, all you have to do is, you know, remove the last portion of the of that link is the Empower Network ID. So you just put your ID code in there and go ahead and promote this Hangout for us. But a special guest, actually, we're going to call it Couples Night. It's going to be fun, but we're not going to say who our special guest is. We'll leave you hanging on that one. But you're going to want to come back next Tuesday, because it's going to be a good one. So go ahead and, you know, market this, advertise it, share it. And if any, and it can be prospects. It could be people that you've just, you know, put on your list and you want to invite them over. Should they click that button, guess what? You get the sale. All right. Then that's what we're here for. We're here to help all of us on this $1 million mission, and so that's going to be fun next week. So make sure you come back next week. So with that said, I'm going to say thank you very much, and let Carol, you know, and Ellie with final words, and then we'll toast it on out.
Yeah, I just have one more thing to say. Well, two more things to say. One more thing to say on the self-worth issue. I get such a kick out of reading everybody's blogs. I syndicate on a few different groups, and I learned so much, and it's so interesting. So one of the things I picked up was this woman was saying that she was speaking to her ex-husband recently, I think yesterday or the day before, and he shared with her such a fantastic idea that could revolutionize, I don't know, the world, something. It was big, whatever it was. And she said he's a brilliant guy. So she said to him, you know who you should get in touch with? And darn it, I can't think of his name right now. Elon something, is it? The guy who started Tesla. And she said, you need to get in touch with him. And her ex said to her, oh, he's not going to talk to me. He'll never talk to me. And she said, baloney, he won't. You have an idea that is up on the level where he thinks and the kind of revolutionary stuff that he puts out. So you make yourself get past his gatekeeper, whoever it is, and you talk to him. So, boom, that's the way we think. That's
It's
the way we need to
Elon
think.
Musk. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's the guy. Right. And yeah, the other thing, I just want to drive in what you said there, Lynn. We're going to have a very interesting guest on next week, and I can't wait. So I won't say any more than that for fear that I'll spill the beans, but come join us. Oh, and also we have someone on the chat. This has been a very interesting chat. In addition to the folks who often join us, and we're so happy to see them with us, we have someone from Australia and someone from the UK. So I don't know. I have no idea what time it is where those folks are from, but must be some weird hour. So welcome aboard. It's nice to have you with us. And I will pass it along to Ellie.
No, I'm good. We're good. Let's go. Who's getting us out of here? 8:56. Let's roll. Because if I start, you guys will be here for another hour and a half. Who's toasting us out?
It's going to be Carol.
Okay.
All right. Well, here's a toast. Welcome to the new people who joined us. It was nice to have you with us, as I said. I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion around this topic. It certainly brought up a few things for myself, and I hope that it did for everyone else, because the whole idea of this is to bring everyone along on this $1 million mission. So let's toast to that. And
Cheers to that.
Cheers. $1 million mission. Cheers.
Hashtag MDM.
MDM, right.
Again, if you come back next week, if you want to know if you're already in Empower Network and you want to know how to promote this, and we didn't make too much sense to you, get in touch with one of us. We'll show you we'll tell you how to do it. That's cool. We will be back next week. Special. Be watching. Make sure you're back. Bye-bye. We love you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.